The Turtles are back, and they're scary as shit. Meet these four roided-out nightmare versions of Shrek, with some of the most needlessly complicated backstories of all time.
Hey everyone, it's Movie Lover 120 here, and I'm here with a brand new movie review, and this movie review is going to be where, technically, this is a movie rant actually, and this rant is going to be for a reboot of a film series that I'm currently reviewing, and this was the film that pretty much started off, really restarted the downfall of the Turtles. And that film is going to be for none other than the 2014 reboot of the four pizza-loving, teenage-fighting reptiles, and that is the 2014 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, aka these nasty, ugly, fucking abominations. Seriously, since apparently wrecking Transformers wasn't enough for Michael Bay, so he had to go wrecking the Ninja Turtles next. Very great idea. Michael Lame. So anyway, what's the plot of this? Well, darkness has settled over New York City as Shredder and his evil Foot Clan have an iron grip on everything from the police to the politicians. The future is grim until four unlikely outcast brothers rise from the sewers and discover their destiny as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The Turtles must work with fearless reporter April O'Neil and their cameraman Vern Fenwick to save the city and unravel Shredder's diabolical plan. So, how did this movie go? Well, in October 2009, following the news of Nickelodeon purchasing all of Mirage Studios' rights to the Ninja Turtles property, Nickelodeon was involved to produce a new film with corporate sibling Paramount Pictures with an expected date sometime in 2012. In May 2010, Paramount and Nickelodeon had bought Michael Bay and his Platinum Dunes partners Andrew Vorm and Brad Fuller on to produce the next film that will reboot the film series. Bay, Fuller, and Vorm produced alongside Walker and Mednick. For the script, the studio originally hired Art McHugh and Matt Holloway to write the film. A year later, the studio turned to writers Josh Applebaum and Andrei Nemok to rewrite the script. In February 2012, Jonathan Liebesman, director of Texas Chainsaw The Beginning, began negotiations to direct the film, beating out Brett Ratner. Later in March, Paramount pushed back the film's release date to Christmas Day 2013. And then in early March 2012, Bay revealed at Nickelodeon's 2012 upfront presentation that the film would simply be called Ninja Turtles, and that the Turtles would be from an alien race. No. News of Bay's creative change was met with criticism from within the fan community. Thank God. And in response to the announcement, actor Robbie Rist, who voiced Michelangelo in the first three films, wrote to Bay accusing him of sodomizing the franchise. Rist later remarked that he could have been out of line since Bay made more money than he does. In response to the feedback, Bay issued a statement asking fans to calm down since the script had not been revealed. His team is working closely with the creators and will include all the elements that made them fans to begin with. Both Brian Toxian, who voiced Leonardo in the first three films, and Judith Hogg, who played April O'Neil in the 1990 film, have voiced their support towards the creative change. In Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles co-creator Peter later expressed his thoughts on the change, asking fans to take Bay's advice and wait till more of Bay's plan is made available. Laird also stated he felt the ill-conceived plan could be a genius notion, as it would allow fans to have the multitude of bipedal anthropomorphic turtles that have been asking for. You'd point out that while the concept of a turtle planet backstory had made for a great run-of-the-mill science fiction story, It had no real place in the Ninja Turtles universe. So after all the production stuff, the movie was made. The film would finally go on to be released on August 8th, 2014 by Paramount Pictures, and would go on to get negative reviews, with criticism directed at the lack of character development and the hideous designs. But the film somehow was a box office success, earned $493 million, which is almost close to $500 million worldwide, on a $125 million budget, and became the highest grossing film in the series and highest grossing film from Nickelodeon movies. How was that possible? Then again, back in that year, every bad movie was always a box office hit. It was kind of around 2015 or 2016 when pretty much a load of cinemagoers were starting to wise up on all the bad reboots and bad sequels. As for my reaction to this movie, well, this movie is the worst Ninja Turtles movie in my opinion. I despise every minute of this film with a burning passion. I don't get how there are fans of this movie like, this is such a disgrace to 90s kids, a disgrace to my childhood, and a disgrace to the Turtles. As if Bay had not ruined Transformers, he had to ruin one of my biggest childhood icons, which was this, next to Sonic. Thankfully he didn't touch Sonic, but the Ninja Turtles were my second biggest childhood icon. Just imagine if Michael Bay had been involved in the 2020 adaptation of Sonic. They probably would have kept his hideous design. Not content with taking one beloved 80s cartoon and draining it all of personality and the sort of charm that made it so appealing to begin with, Michael Bay made a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie simply because he could. In his hands, the title seems less the quirky advert for the cartoon batshit crazy mythology than a series of keywords input by the type of audience it's attempting to attract. It retains calling of the backstory originally created by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird to justify calling itself a Turtles movie, but ultimately panders to a teenage audience too young to know any better. And considering Michael Bay was a producer of this film, a lot of comparisons can be made to the Transformers franchise where you have big action sequences and very little character development. But in my opinion, this was even worse. Director Jonathan Liebesman, who still hasn't made a film I actually enjoyed except for Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning, gives us a pointless action film which follows pretty much the same standard formula of basic action movies. You have one of the scientists betraying the other, like a formula we saw in the Spider-Man movies, and not being able to finish the experiment without the other. Then you have the vigilantes trying to save the city, and finally the climatic scene of the skyscraper while a time clock is running down to zero as the evil villain is trying to wipe out an entire city. It doesn't get more formulaic than that, so it wouldn't surprise me that in a few days' memory this film would be entirely wiped out because there isn't one original or noteworthy moment during its 100-minute runtime. And a matter of fact, it did. Everyone forgot about this film quick, and they hated it. In fact, and also another thing, why is this called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? The Turtles don't even appear till the middle of the film. In fact, here's a much more fitting title for this movie. A much more fitting title than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles this movie should be called April O'Neil the Movie. And you wanna know why? Because April O'Neil, who's now played by Megan Fox, is literally the whole focus of the film. She's literally the only character. Yeah, Megan Fox is the one thing that gets almost all the screen time in this movie. So the movie should be called April O'Neil. Considering she's the main character of this film and is on screen for almost every single scene. Every single scene she's in this. And Megan Fox plays the intrepid reporter April O'Neil and starts to ruin the movie from the beginning with her horrendous acting. Seriously, I thought Michael Bay and Megan Fox hated one another because she got fired from Transformers Dark of the Moon. Somehow, she was willing to come back and direct Michael Bay's shitty reboot of Ninja Turtles. She was willing to play in that for some reason. Really thought she would have learned from working with Michael after Transformers. When this film tries to incorporate in Slashback's origin story, it feels contrived and ridiculous. Like, Fox pouts and theorizes with her awful acting. They should have chosen an actually good actress to help this silly film, and not Michael Bay's attempted eye candy and fan service. Now that I think about it, the turtles are barely in the movie at all, except for a few scenes, like I said, and that's it. And the turtles, once again, are fucking hideous. Look at these. They look all muscular. They look all gross. Even without their masks, they look even worse. Like, what the hell are these guys? These are not the turtles. I refuse to call these fuckers the turtles. The turtles' personalities have been watered down to their most basic character traits, like Leonardo's a serious, no-nonsense leader, Donatello's a smart, nerdy one who builds things and uses computers, Michelangelo's the loud and hyperactive one. I'm gonna explain something about Michelangelo, it's a little creepy in a bit. And Raphael's the moody rebel who clashes with Leonardo. And that's the new Turtles in a poorly written half-shell. The Turtles do admittedly act a bit more like modern-day teenagers. That's also the problem. They act like modern-day teenagers after drinking a 6-pack of Red Bull. And the movie tries idea of humor is written more for modern-day children than it is adults or actually teenagers. Only young children find this movie funny or entertaining. Like we even have a cringy-ass scene during the backstory where the Turtles are listening to Gwen Stefani's Holla Back Girl and dancing to it when they're younger. Or Michelangelo like jamming out to it when they're like younger and stuff, and it's just stupid. And there's another thing about Michelangelo. They do something like creepy with him. Like when the Turtles first meet April O'Neil, Michelangelo is the one the most that seems like he has this crush on April. Ugh. Like that is just gross and creepy. Like, same thing with these Transformers sequels. There's even so many gross, inappropriate jokes in this film. Much like how Michael Bay ruined the Transformers. He puts all the same old gross Transformers jokes in those movies into this. Like, really? In the other Ninja Turtle stuff, Michael Bay never had a crush. No, Michelangelo never had a crush on April O'Neil. Like, what the fuck was Bay thinking? And if I have guessed, all the turtles are animated by CGI, and while the turtles look like actual turtles, they look like hideous green abominations, like I've already said many times in this review. That would have given me actual nightmares if I was a kid. Like, the worst looking character in the entire movie is Master Splinter. Like, he looks like this rat with big black eyes. Like Splinter looks too much like a human-sized rat. Like a 5-foot rat with wet fur that leaves him looking like a plague rat. In fact, now that I think about it, you know that character, you know the mole rat Rufus from Kim Possible? You know, that animated series from the 2000s? Think if he looked like that, like a naked mole rat, except if Rufus took drugs, and smoked a lot of crack and cocaine, that's what he'd probably look like. He'd probably look like that if Rufus started doing drugs. And just bigger and skinnier. So yeah, just imagine if Rufus became a drug addict. That's what he'd probably look like. Okay, and now let's get on to the big bad of the film. The main villain of the movie, of course, the Shredder, whose face is shown very early in the movie as just an average-looking guy with some scars. That ruins the meaning of the character, because with the Shredder, you're not supposed to see his face. Like, I like that in the other stuff, we never know what he looks like. It's more just brief glimpses of his face, tiny glimpses of his face, but never the whole entire face. Like, why do we need to see his face in this movie? And after that, the Shredder's character only appears in the movie wearing a robotic Megatron reject suit, which is entirely CGI, making the scene showing his face pointless. Like, this is Shredder, guys. Shredder looks like a Transformer. A fucking Transformer. The original Shredder never showed his face, and that made the character both mysterious and intimidating. Even in the 1990 film, he was actually looked like the Shredder, and he never showed his face in the 1990 film either. You just saw like brief little glimpses of half of it. And it worked perfectly well. Shredder's character was always instantly identifiable by his mask and deep voice in this movie. But in this movie, Shredder's just a Transformers reject with robotic personality to match. It's like he even sounds like a freaking Megatron. That's not Shredder. Shredder is not supposed to be a Transformer. And his suit, and the real Shredder suit does not look like knives thrown on. And like Michael Bay said, hey, that's intimidating, right? No, it isn't. It's just dumb. The only actor in this awful excuse of a movie that gives a genuinely good performance is William Fichtner, who plays Shredder's accomplice and adopted son. Like, Fichtner's character was originally supposed to play a much bigger part in the film, but for some reason the script was rewritten to put more emphasis on Shredder's character being the main villain. And then, there's also no Casey Jones in this movie, again. He is in the sequel, though, which is going to be the next review, but instead, technically, Casey Jones is replaced with an annoying comic relief named Vern Fedwick. Now, as much as I enjoy Will Arnett and other stuff like BoJack Horseman, the 2 Lego movies, and enjoy a lot of his voice acting, I even enjoy him in Blades of Glory as well, and as much as a good and funny actor he is, he's annoying in this film. Like, he's just a pandered comic relief that also has this big crush on April O'Neil as well, and he doesn't really serve much of a purpose other than to just be a sidekick comic relief. That's pretty much it. So yeah, only things I liked about this movie, on the other hand, was the scene where the turtles beatbox in the elevator. That was kind of a little entertaining. Brian Tyler's score, and the voice acting for the turtles, such as Johnny Knoxville as Leo, the voice acting I guess was decent, even though the turtles had such horrendous designs. Other than that, this was just a bad and boring movie that is not pleasant to sit through in a slice. Like, the turtles look hideous, Shredder looks hideous, Splinter looks like a nightmare fuel that just makes me want to die. And Megan Fox's acting is atrocious as April O'Neil. And just this whole movie sucks. That's all I'm gonna have to say. So, here would be my final recommendation of this turd. So overall, please do not watch this if you are a TMNT fan. Just stick with any of the animated shows, first 2 films in 2007 animated film, because this is a massive embarrassment to fans of TMNT everywhere, and one of the most embarrassing movies of 2014 I ever had to watch in 11th grade of my life. So if you're wondering how I'm going to give Ninja Turtles 2014, I am going to give Ninja Turtles 2014 a 4 out of 10. Thank God that's over. Let's pray I never ever have to watch that movie again. But I'm not done with Michael Bay's duology yet, because I have the sequel, which is thankfully the last one in this Bay version of Ninja Turtles. And that would have to be the sequel, Out of the Shadows. That will be somewhat a bit more fun to rewatch or talk about, but certainly still not a good movie by any means. But it's slightly better than what I had to watch yesterday. But until then, that'll be it for this review. Thank y'all for watching, and if you like this and want to see more, and don't forget to like, subscribe to Movie Lover 120.